Hello, hi. My name is Felice D'Arco. I'm a pediatric neuroradiologist at Great Ormond Street Hospital for Children in London, UK. And today I would like to present you a lecture that I'm very happy about. I'm very happy that the ESNRise, so the young session, if you will, of the ESNR asked me to do this to present this specific lecture in the last annual ESNR meeting in Istanbul, because the topic is fascinating to me. And this is indeed how to make an effective lecture for effective education. So, first of all, it's very, very important to understand that there are a lot of excellent scientists, people that have a lot of publication, that really understand the field of, in this case, radiology, to the nuances. However, some of them, they may not be able to convey their knowledge. On the other side, we have a flourishing of public speakers, from the TED Talks to the YouTubes, that are excellent in delivering a lecture or in presenting a video, but then the content may be lacking. So as scientists, as doctors, how we can make a lecture really effective, how we can merge the scientific content that we need to master with a beautiful delivery that will keep the attention going. Okay, so this is what I've been asking myself since I started teaching in different national and international conferences, and this is what I will try to share with you in the next 15 minutes. So the first thing I would like you to do is to be very, very attentive in the next two slides, because everything that you need to know about making an effective lecture is in the next picture. So I would like you to look at the next slide properly, and to understand that really everything important for you as an educator is in this photo. Ready? There you go. So now, when I presented this picture in the audience, this was a big hall in the Congress venue in Istanbul. People were looking at me a bit weird. Why there is this young girl riding a shark? Now, this is actually half a joke, but half of it is very serious, because this really everything you need to know about making interesting lectures is in this picture. And why? This is a beautiful book, just speaking about the curiosity of the beautiful minds, from Leonardo da Vinci to Einstein. Mario Livio really tried to understand what makes us curious. And this is what you need to do to start a lecture. You need to start with the first of the pillar of long-standing teaching in medicine, which is basically making people catch the attention of people. Because once you see this picture, you are thinking, why Felice is showing this picture? Is this a real photo or a ChatGPT creation? Who is this girl and why is she riding a great white shark? And of course, maybe later, it was late in Istanbul when I delivered this lecture at the end of the day. So most of the people were asking thinking probably what was for dinner. Okay, so this is the first pillar. You need to catch their attention from the start. And why? Because, guys, there is a lot of content out there. There will be conferences packed with lecture of all kind, good speaker, bad speaker, people are tired, or early morning, late in the evening, and so on. So it's very, very important that people have your that people really are involved in your lecture. So you may want to tell a story. As a radiologist, what I like to do is to start with a clinical case and then stress the differential diagnosis. You would like to try to feel the audience and understand if you are speaking too fast or too slow, and then in general, start with the right foot, okay? But, and this is our second pillar, because we are doctors, because we are scientists, and we know there is a lot of content that has really little importance out there. I'm not speaking about only science, also social sciences or social media and what's not. You need to follow with context and content. So basically, attention catcher, which is your first pillar, and content seeker go very much together. So once you say a funny or intriguing story to start your lecture, this story has to have a meaning, has to be linked with the rest of the presentation, has to have a clinical relevance. So remember, attention catcher, content seeker. And let's start with this picture, yeah? So I show you this picture of this girl riding a great white shark, quite an unusual picture, but then you need to look at what is out there. This is a funny example, but if you are talking about scientific topic, then you need to retrieve all the literature, the papers out there, maybe other lectures, your personal experience, and you can see that there is a lot of stuff going on related to this woman whose name is Ocean Ramsey. There is a Netflix documentary. There is a TED talk, a lot of a website, a wiki page, a lot of comments, and so on. So now you have this bulk of knowledge because you studied your stuff. How you make it like effective? So what you need to do is to go to the third pillar, which is synthesis. So you need to tell the audience what is, in your opinion, important. That Ocean Ramsey was born in 1987, is a very young woman, is an American shark conservationist. So you can see 3 pictures. Note that I put a lot of picture in this presentation and little writing because you cannot listen to my voice and read the slides. I will come to that later. The important second point is that she gained international media attention for free diving with shark, especially this video of her riding a great white shark. And another important thing that I gather from this large bulk of data on the internet is that she is the subject of 2025 Netflix documentary called The Shark Whisperer. Okay, so what have I done here? I created a synthesis. So as a scientist, when you speak about a topic, you gather all the information you have, and then the art is to synthesize. So what is synthesis? It's combining information from multiple sources to create a new coherent understanding or argument that goes beyond the simple summarizing of each source individually. This is synthesis, guys, and this is why it's very important that you never talk, especially at higher level, like international conferences and courses, about something that you do not have daily experience about, okay? I will never talk about adult head and neck radiology because although I know the basics, I don't consider myself an expert because I'm a pediatric neuroradiologist, yeah? So this is very, very important. So you need to create, the goal when you speak is to give a message that is clear, is synthetic, and goes beyond the simple cut and paste. That's why we can do something that ChatGPT cannot yet do, okay? So whatever the topic, there is a large bulk of information. PubMed, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, nuances coming from your experience. You will have 20 slides, 30 slides at best. Please remember, you cannot put all this information and will be not the sense of a presentation. The sense of a presentation is to give a message that synthesizes and goes beyond the crude bulk of information out there. So now we have three pillars, yeah? You need to catch their attention because whatever the topic, they need to start following. You need to have the knowledge, and then you need to proceed towards synthesis. Now, what is the fourth pillar? So it's important you to understand that we are dealing with science, and in science, almost all the contents are dealing, all the topics will be dealing with the known unknown, so things we don't know, we are not sure about, and controversies. So we need to be synthetic, but also all-rounded. So we need to try as much as possible in the time we have to kind of explore all the angles of a story. And I will do you some practical example because I want to speak also about medicine at some point in this talk. But as far as the definitions are concerned, scientific controversy is a disagreement within the scientific community about a particular theory, methodology, interpretation of data, or application of scientific knowledge. And there is a lot of disagreement out there, sometimes because our knowledge is limited. Okay, so attention catcher to start with, gather your content, do a synthesis, and explore controversies. So this is the fourth pillar. And let's do that starting from Ocean Ramsey photo. If we read carefully the wiki page, I told you before, oh, there was a wiki page, fine. But if we read it, we see that she's also a model. She also has a big business that she promotes. Uh-oh, this is kind of controversial for a scientist, a shark conservationist, okay? And then you read some publication and some blogs about some scientists. This is David Schiffman, he's a PhD with a lot of publication. He is one of the curators of the Southern Fried Science, which is a blog about the ocean and conservation. And he's very, very critical. He said that he was harassed by by follower of Ocean Ramsey. He says that Ocean Ramsey does not collect the data, does not publish research, does not collaborate with researcher, and does not present at scientific conference and so on. And he say, and this guy has a curriculum, that Ocean Ramsey regularly shares unequivocally factually incorrect statement. So now we have another perspective. And this is not a good one, it's a critical one. So whether we like Ocean Ramsey or not, because I chose this topic, I need to explore also the dark sides of it. Even more, some people say basically they couldn't find any academic title for her. This is the only publication which is almost unrelated and is in a very shady journal. And or at least this is what they say. I don't know the journal. There's no criticism, but they say this is not an impacted journal. And there are other people say, well, this is bad science reporting. And one of the people criticizing her say, well, I can't believe that please don't grab the 18-foot long wild predator is something that needs to be explicitly said out loud. But here we are. So what I'm trying to do here, guys, I'm giving the audience a perspective. I'm trying to make you reflect that there are two sides of this particular story and how we apply, for instance, these two like medical field. I want to show you an example, yeah, about controversies and biases. Abusive at trauma, shaken baby, so it was called shaken baby. Yeah, this is a consensus statement on abusive at trauma from the European Society of Pediatric Radiology and Neuroradiology, with the endorsement of a lot of societies that basically say If you have this triad, subdural hematomas, retinal hemorrhages, and encephalopathy with MRI brain showing damage, these are strongly suggestive of abusive trauma in specific age range. But then, 1 year later, there was this SBU report from a Swedish group published on an impacted journal, where with some researchers that have a legit profile, that basically analyze this triad, and they basically say there is very low scientific evidence to support the triad as an indicator of abusive trauma. They didn't say it's not there, and we deny that. We just say that our scientific analysis claims that the scientific evidence is poor. But of course, we are dealing with shaken baby. So this paper started to have an impact in tribunals and trials, and was used to defend people accused of shaking the baby, abusing the children. And it generates further discussion. So these are some response for the Royal College of, for instance, pediatricians and in UK, other paper response from the consensus group, and so on. So this is the bulk of knowledge that basically said there is a consensus statement, there is a criticism to the conclusion of the consensus statement, and there are criticisms to the SBU report, so criticisms to the criticism. Yeah? And this is how you explore the complexity of the discussion. So how you summarize that, how I tried, and this is from a presentation I did for the European Society of Pediatric Radiology, how I try to synthesize what is my take on it, and I try to transfer to the audience. Well, I said, look, if you are dealing with a possible abusive trauma, there is not such a thing like a killer sofa. So if you have parents that report that the child just fell from the sofa, but he has a very important intracranial changes, abnormalities suggestive of significant trauma, well, you are likely dealing with a discrepancy between what the parents said and what you see on the scanner. But consider the complexity of the described mechanism of injury. For instance, this is the stairs in my flat in London. And this is my son who loves trying to go down, going down the stairs. And this is why we bought this kind of gate to avoid him jumping down the stairs. But if you read the literature, when you have complex falls down the stairs, you have more chances for your intracranial imaging findings to simulate, to mimic an abusive head trauma. This is me again with my child. I think I'm a good father, but we like dangerous stuff, you know, going up and down because he loves when you know, we do squat together. But then again, if a child falls on a concrete floor from a relevant height, not from a sofa, well, you read the literature and all the papers available, they say there is a higher risk of acquiring skull fracture, intracranial hemorrhages, retinal hemorrhages, and so on. So again, there is no such a thing as a killer sofa, but you need to consider the complexity of the mechanism of injury. The same applies to baby bouncer and high chairs. We have very little literature, and this is a very amazing book, a bit old, but very, very good, that basically says, you know, we have a complexity of a fall may simulate what we see in a shaken baby. So what I learned from my studies on the topic is that when mechanism described is complex, you need case-by-case consideration. But coming back on what I'm trying to do as an educator, I show you the consensus statement. I show you the SBU report, which is controversial and goes against some of the statements in the consensus paper. I show you the complex discussion, scientific discussions that followed. And also I gave you my take, that is, I don't think that there is controversies when you see the triad and the story is inconsistent, but keep in mind that sometimes there are confounding factors and you need to be very cautious one way or another how you write your report if you are dealing with a complex structure, complex mechanism of fall. So the final pillar of that, we have said, well, I told you at the beginning, there are 5 pillars, yeah, for the lecture. The first pillar was attention catcher, and I show you the Ocean Ramsey riding a great white shark. Good. But then content, there is a lot of out there. You need to know as much as possible, and you need to be an expert as well. And then synthesis and controversies. The delivery is as important, because if you don't know how to talk, if you don't know how to put together a presentation, yeah, you can be knowledgeable, you can explore all the angles of a scientific topic, but yet you can have some problems. So what about the delivery? Fill the audience and use practical tips. Now, the practical tips I'm about to show you are what I feel is better for the delivery. And this is the only slide when I put a bit more writing. So the first practical tips I mentioned before, favor figures over text, especially if you are a radiologist, because people cannot listen and read all the slides. Yeah. So very, very important to just, again, also on the slide, synthesize especially what is important and leave the rest to your talks. I prefer a dark background because it's less tiring for the eyes, and I saw a lot of and I read a lot of articles about presentation, and this seems to be a good option. The tone of voice needs to be engaging. I will speak about the Michael Caine if paradigm. I will speak about that in a second. All that thought. Timekeeping. I never heard somebody complaining for a lecture that lasts 2 minutes less than it was planned for. But if you go beyond your time, people are waiting for you, or the lunch break is delayed, and everybody does the same, and the whole conference accumulates delay on delay. This is a problem. So cut as much as you can. This is part of the synthesis art. Use real life cases. You need to show the typical and the atypical, the exceptions, and this helps also with the attention catcher we start this presentation with. And because, as I said, you cannot put all the knowledge, and you shall not put all the knowledge in 20 slides, you can quote useful papers so the audience can check them. Now, about the tone of voice, there is a poem, it's called If, as a Father. It's a beautiful, beautiful poem about what does it mean to be a good person and to understand what is important in life. And I read these poems to my son from time to time. I've printed it out. I want to put in his room. But of course, the way I read the poem, apart from my horrible Italian accent when I speak English, but the way I read this poem cannot be like Michael Caine. So if you want to listen how you can, what is the top notch of expressing something with a beautiful voice, with a great tone of voice, with the right poses here and there, listen to this video of Michael Caine that read the poem If by Kipling, and you will understand what I mean with engaging tone. Of course, probably very few of us can aspire becoming as good as Michael Caine, but at least we can do an effort in that sense. So, to recap, you start keeping the attention very high from the minute one. You need to have a knowledge that has to be deep, intellectually honest and complete, and also personal experience on the topic you are speaking about. And then you need to be able to synthesize only the important information. Exploring the controversies is critical in science, so don't hide them, don't run away from them, and work on the delivery and including the timekeeping, your slide presentation, and the tone of voice, because this is as important as the scientific content. So this is it. The presentation is finished, and I want to thank everybody again for from the ESNRise group for the beautiful opportunity of allowing me to do this lecture. Thank you so much.